Hang on, I think that might do it. Right, let's, and then over here. I'm going to bring it forward, Venice.
Well, as long as you've got the female, it doesn't matter. So then you might chop your head off.
Sorry guys, we're just testing if you're joining us. If you can't hear, can you, if you can't hear, hello, can you hear us on the live stream? If you can't hear, can you let us know? Okay, I'm getting a thumbs up. And can you hear me nice and clearly through this microphone? So am I really, really booming? I can hear you. Okay. Right, shall I start?
You start.
Okay.
You start.
Okay, hello. Right, okay, so a couple of, already the police have asked me to ensure people are socially distancing, but as I haven't invited you, I don't know who you are. I'm not remotely responsible for anybody here. However, I would like to remind anybody in Hyde Park that people do like to pickpocket, and so keep an eye on your stuff. I don't mean you, I mean other people that might come through. So welcome to our first out of lockdown Speakers Corner, where we really are reclaiming women's voices in the public square. So that's what we're doing. This is on the backdrop of big tech silencing women, us not being allowed to say that we are women and people with penises aren't women. This is on the backdrop of us not being allowed to talk about what is going on with children's bodies. And so rather than rely on this new technocratic oppressive movement to stop women speaking, rather than relying on Twitter, Facebook, a variety of social media networks, we've decided we are coming back into the actual public square to make sure that women's voices are heard repeatedly and consistently, and we will be making this a monthly event. So and each and every one of you that's shown up today, it just proves that there is a groundswell of feeling that the voices of women are just massively being silenced. We can't even speak often in our places of work. We can't insist that Janet, that was John last week, doesn't use women's toilets. We can't ask for a female to attend our elderly females in care. We can't even stop, in 2021, a man raping an elderly woman who'd recently had a stroke and causing her so much damage that she died of her injuries. We can't stop that because we can't actually insist that men, whatever they call themselves, are not allowed in women's spaces. And so these are the fights that we've really got to have. So thank you very much for being involved. It makes a profound difference that you actually come and stand in a space where you're allowed to say these things. And it makes such a difference that we're not talking about religion to the people that come every month. So we are going to change this space. We're going to change this space by filling up with people who want to talk about actual things that are happening, not something that may potentially happen in the afterlife. So we are going to sort out the world in which we live right now, and I really appreciate you coming. So these are the ground rules. If you want to come and talk, you are more than welcome. Whatever your sex, you are more than welcome to speak. Please don't keep it more than 3 minutes. The more people that talk, the better it is for all of us. We all come to this from a very different perspective. Each of us has an individual story about the moment we were like, no, I'm not going to stand for this, I'm going to speak up. And so as many of you as speak as possible, it's great, because then the people that are watching at home, who perhaps don't think that anybody else has come from the same place as them, maybe they don't feel brave enough to speak out, maybe they can't attend a situation like this, an event like this. it gives them courage to actually enact their own boundaries in their own life. So it really is important. So without further ado, if you can't hear, come closer. I've worked out why there's less women at Speaker's Corner. I think women's voices just aren't as powerful, and so I've got quite a booming voice. Many of the women that will talk today may not. If you can't hear, rather than have a conversation about not being able to hear, come forward. The more quiet we are, the more likely you can hear. But, okay, who's first? Where's Stella?
Stella.
Come on then. So, first of all, say your name if you fancy it and why you're here, and then give your speech. Okay. I've got a microphone just for you.
Hello everybody. I need the steps because I'm so small. Up again. I need the steps because I'm so tiny. The last time I spoke here there were no microphones. This is the first time I've been here that I've had a microphone. You know me from my story that I was cancelled from the Morning Star. A lot of you know that story. And since then I've been supporting people like Mr. Menno. Where's Mr. Menno? Mr. Menno is here. I've been supporting people like him and other women's websites and channels like Women Are Human and various others that you guys have heard of. I'm not going to speak for very long. What I'd like to ask is who has come the farthest today? Now I know a woman was coming from Edinburgh. That's a long way. Who's come from Edinburgh? Yeah. And okay. Aberdeen. Which is the furthest? Right, then you're getting a signed copy of my book. All right. I bought this for whoever came the furthest. It's wonderful to see everybody here again, and now it's going to be monthly. We're going to all try and come every time, and it's just these new friends that I have made since I was cancelled. I was never on social media. I didn't know anybody in the feminist world, and now I have got support from all over the world, and I'm so happy. It has just opened my eyes, and it's opened my mind up as well, and I've got friends I never knew I had. So thanks everybody.
Georgia, you can speak now?
Okay, let me just take that off you. Just by the way, if you don't know who that is, that's Stella Peretz, she's a cartoonist, a political cartoonist, who got cancelled from the Morning Star for talking about crocodiles and newts. So that was Stella. Who's next? Come on, Katie.
I'll be my next one.
All right. This is Venice Allen. Venice started the new crop of these talks. She was the first one to do it, to get everybody in a space to talk about it. And so this is my very good friend, Venice Allen.
Thank you. What do I do with it?
Hello. It's so great to be back at Speaker's Corner. Can we have a cheer and a round of applause for this wonderful and amazing place? Speaker's Corner. Now, do you remember last summer when we were here, there was a very small group of lockdown skeptics? Now, I know that we don't all agree about masks, vaccine passports, lockdowns and all of that, but I wanted to remark how that group has grown to tens, if not hundreds of thousands. And although they are ignored, silenced, ridiculed, vilified, censored and cancelled, sound familiar? The tradition of free expression and assembly that we are practicing right here, right now, is powerful and can grow into huge movements that force change by showing the state that there is real life resistance to their anti-human, anti-common sense agenda, be it self-ID or digital ID. And at the very least, coming here stops us all going mad in this post-truth digital age. So I'm sorry if you're watching this at home on your phone or on your laptop, and I really do hope that you can congregate with real live women where you live. Just think of all the gains that we have made in these last 4 years when the government was all set to put self-ID into law. Now other countries are following our lead by putting a stop to this absurd and dangerous legislation. I'm sure that the real life connections that started here at Speaker's Corner, where's Maria, and continued up and down the country in secret conference rooms and Quaker halls and into the Houses of Parliament caused this political change to happen. Because not only is the online space a sham, it is a hostile environment for women. 1/3 of the whole World Wide Web is pornography. And while we're banned from social media for biological truth and basic feminism, the executives at MindGeek, the owners of Pornhub and 1/3 of all the pornography on the internet, are free to operate with impunity in our Prime Minister's own constituency of Uxbridge. And these digital platforms that exclude us for saying that adult human males are men also promote the idea that any fight back from women against the multi-billion-dollar sex industry is an attack on sex workers. Because that is how postmodern identity politics works, by finding the most vulnerable people as a front to protect the interests of male-run multinational corporations and global organisations. In the same way, we are accused of targeting and attacking trans kids, the very children we are fighting to protect. Oh, and don't forget that that to be against the exploitation of women for surrogacy is terrible homophobia. Oh, and do not dare discuss the religious oppression of women, because that is racist. And any criticism of the mutilation of women in cosmetic surgery is also, of course, anti-feminist. Even stigmatizing men's disgusting, misogynistic paraphilias is also mean and man-hating. It's almost as if any feminist analysis or argument against the oppression of and exploitation of women is a terrible reflection of your character. And boy, do postmodernism and identity politics love the internet. Its smoke and mirrors obscures the rude truth that is exposed here in all its beauty in the fresh air of Hyde Park. So let's come here as much as possible while it's even legal to, because just defining ourselves as women, as female, as humans is the political struggle of our age. I know, I was nearly going to put my umbrella up. Oh, you need this.
Right, come on,
No, you need
next.
Go on. And what's your name?
Kate Kiss.
So this is Kate Kiss, regular woman.
Yeah.
Well, probably not, actually, are you?
Oh, glasses on. Hello! It's great to be here. Thank you to Kellie-Jay and Venice and everyone for organising this opportunity for us to speak. So my name is Kate Kiss and I've journeyed from Wales this morning to say something very, very simple. You can't change sex. Earlier this year, the Sunday Times newspaper was given permission by the High Court to publish the following evidence that was submitted to and accepted by the High Court. You can't change sex. This evidence was given by an American professor who has overseen transgender patients in a clinic and in a psychiatric capacity for over 40 years. He went on to say that the most distressing thing that his patients suffered was the realization that they would never be able to change sex. Furthermore, he said, it is a rare young person with gender dysphoria who does not present with a psychiatric disorder or the symptoms which suggest the presence of one. He said that it is left for people like him at the end of his career, who has nothing left to lose, to speak out. Other voices are silenced. Since the High Court has admitted and embraced this truth that you cannot change sex, it is my hope that this clarity permeates into the rest of the legal system and the court system. No one should ever be compelled again, when under oath, when they have sworn to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. No one should be compelled to utter the legal fiction that a man is a woman. A court of law is not a social setting. In a social setting, we are at liberty to say what lies we choose to smooth our paths. A court of law is not somewhere where we go to make friends, to be nice, to be kind. No one who has ever witnessed a brutal cross-examination of a very vulnerable witness can ever suggest that a court should be a place of kindness. The purpose of a court of law is to uncover the truth. This purpose cannot be assisted if the very people who have sworn to tell the truth are prevented by the court from doing so. Who's next? George. Kelly? Who's next? Heidi. I know. We told your camera, babe.
Put it in there.
Lovely bag,
Hello.
Let me pin this on you. Good luck. You're brilliant.
I'm going to waffle for ages. Not really. Hi. Right. It's really good to be back. Look, everybody. Okay, the last time we were here, a group of young women decided to try and rip the banner up. Do you remember? Took it into the park and tried to rip it up. So I'd like to take this opportunity to remind them of a little bit of our collective history. This is from the Daily Mail, September the 22nd, 1913. In a small North Wales village was the scene of a wild outburst against suffragettes yesterday. The crowd, in its anger at the interruptions of the Chancellor's speech, seemed for the moment to forget that the interrupters were women, or even human beings. Whether one agrees or disagrees with the militant methods of the suffragettes, it's impossible to justify the brutal attitude of the part of the angry crowd, however much they were incensed by the women's ill-timed interjections. Beginning his address, Mr. Lloyd George had only time to say, "Ladies and gentlemen," when almost in the front row a woman cried, "When are you going to give?" She couldn't finish her sentence, but the other women shouted, "Votes for women!" At once, pandemonium reigned and hundreds of Welshmen rushed at the luckless suffragette. Catching hold of her by the waist, they dragged her away from the crowd and maltreated her. Her hat was torn away, and armed with cabbage stumps and sticks, the crowd struck the unfortunate woman on her face and other parts of her body. Meanwhile, the policemen, there were 24, and 3 plainclothes detectives fought hard to give her protection. Their efforts were useless, as the gathering was nothing but a mass of howling men, mad with anger. One man forced his way through the dense mass to where the police were trying to get the fainting woman away. Laughing and waving his hands, he struck her a terrible blow to the jaw. Woo! The Chancellor stood on the platform and appealed for mercy, and after leading off the singing of the Welsh national anthem, he again began his speech. Undaunted by the fate of one of their comrades, 4 of the suffragettes interrupted Mr. Lloyd George, and all of them being caught, they received even worse treatment. One woman was stripped to the waist, and one man pulled a bunch of her hair out and boastfully waved it to the view of those around him.
As the second of the 4 women was heavily thrown to the ground and then lifted, ultimately being thrown into a ditch on her back, the crowd took the opportunity of throwing missiles at her as she lay. The police guessed the purpose of the mob and made gallant efforts to rescue the woman. After a short, sharp tussle carried her to a house for safety. The 2 remaining women were knocked about until they were rendered unconscious. Even the occupiers of cottages and houses in the village were callous. They refused to give shelter to the hapless, suffering creatures, telling them to take their chances. One woman managed to shut the door, but the mob, shouting and swearing, had all but broken in when the police arrived and dispersed them with drawn truncheons, rescuing the frightened and almost demented woman. The skirts of 2 of the women were ripped, and portions of them were ripped up and distributed among the crowd as souvenirs. Even biting was resorted to by the insane men. One woman was being conveyed to a place of shelter, and though she was between 2 policemen, some of the crowd thrashed her until she fainted. 108 years ago that was. And later on in 2021, we've still had to fight for everything we've got. Women have literally had to fight for everything that men have just been given. We've had to fight for university, for art, to display our art, to play football, to box, to run marathons, to go to a bar, for public toilets, and much, much more. None of these fights or victories will matter if men can opt into womanhood simply by saying they're women. Did the suffragettes suffer those abuses for men to simply become us? No, they didn't. Unless we say no, all of our gains, our rights, and our very language will include men. It's already happening. Gender ideology is seeping into every aspect of our lives. What kind of future will our children have? A future of coercion, of gaslighting, of mutilated bodies? Will that become their normality? Are we going to let that become their normality? No. This is what I say to men wearing woman face. Dear men, pretending to be women, you are a man. You're not male-bodied. You're not a trans woman because you cannot change sex. Because you're a man. You did not go through female puberty or get catcalled on your way to school because you're a man. You never had to stay at home because your period was so heavy it leaked onto your clothes because you're a man. You've never carried or birthed a child because you're a man. Your lipstick, dress, heels, cheap nylon wig, or even your gold lame handbag will never make you a woman because you're a man. You will never be a lesbian or a mother because you're a man. You were born a man, you will die a man, and in 1,000 years archaeologists will dig up your male bones. Women will not enable you or hand you the keys to womanhood because you are a man. Women are born, not worn. They are men. Stop being kind and start saying no. That's it.
Thank you. Right, who's next? I can. Yeah. Okay, Jan. Let me.
I'd rather hold it if that's okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you. Lovely to see you all. I'm Jan from Object. We've been. Can you hear me? Yeah. We've been out on the trans issue since 2016, linking it to all the other systems that oppress women. I was so pleased to hear Venice talk about pornography and surrogacy, because surrogacy is going to be the big scandal of the 2030s. Thank you to all of us who filled in our surrogacy questionnaire. There'll be a big report on that coming out very soon. You all agreed with each other. No one argued with any of the problems of surrogacy that we identified. There are about 47 of them, not noted by the government. So we think there's 5 main systems that oppress women, particularly poor women and disadvantaged women: porn, prostitution, sex clubs, surrogacy and trans. And I'd just like very briefly to say thank you to the awful trans activists and their horrendous behaviour, comparable with what happened to those suffragettes that Heidi was telling us about, that has led to such a huge regeneration of the feminist movement. So thank you, trans activists.
Okay, well done.
There you go.
Here. I'll clip it to your fluffy. I'm so sorry. I'm going to clip it inside there.
That's fine. Yep, thank you. Oh. Hi. I'm Bernadette, and maybe you might know me from WHRC. I just wanted to stand up here now Joe is going around with some hard copies of the Declaration, which I really would urge you to take. The WHRC is the largest NGO solely fighting globally against the pernicious creep of gender identity into our legal documents. As a global organisation, every signature, please, helps women around the world. To go onto our website, we've got some QR code things that you can just use. Sign the declaration. Urge your friends, family, men, please, everybody, sign the declaration to show states that we have rights. The declaration reaffirms our rights defined in CEDAW. We already have them. They're ours. We need to keep them. We need to tell people that we have them, that they're not to be given away. That's the thing. They're not to be given away. So sign the declaration, please, and thank you very much. Thank you.
I'll just get mine. Yeah, that's fine.
Do you want to just hold that then? Joe's going to talk about.
Get your brolly up because Sadie's taking a picture.
Oh. There you go.
This is why
It's okay. I was going to go around.
you can come here with
No, no. Oh, okay.
It's not a great leap in this country, is it?
Oh dear. Right.
You send it to bag with that.
Right. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I'm just going to go around with the deck. Hi, would you like a copy of the Declaration?
Oh, I've got one already.
Have you? Perfect, thank you.
Great speech.
Oh my gosh.
You'll be on YouTube.
Yeah. So let's put it on here. So hi, I'm Jo Brew, and I am in Women's Human Rights Campaign. We wrote a declaration on women's sex-based rights 2.5 years ago, and the point of the declaration is to reaffirm the United Nations commitments and programs for women's rights. And I'm just going to read out to you what they are. They've been ratified by almost every country in the world. So 187 of the 193 countries in the world have ratified the Convention on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women, which was brought in 1979. So that's what the rights that we think, the women's human rights that we should be having. We don't have all of them, but there are commitments, and these 189 states, including the UK, have promised to give us these rights and to work towards giving us these rights. Now, in CEDAW, Article 1 says discrimination. It defines discrimination against women to mean any distinction, exclusion or restriction made on the basis of sex, which has the effect or purpose of impairing blah 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 human rights and fundamental freedoms in the political, economic, social, cultural, civil or any other field. So our rights that have come, they're all over the world, they should be being implemented by 189 nations, are laid out on the basis of sex. And most countries have ratified them. Now, sex, defined by the United Nations, are the physical and biological characteristics that distinguish males from females. That's what the United Nations said, and we keep watching to check they haven't changed the words. But this is what CEDAW says, and it says that in Article 5 of CEDAW, which everybody's ratified globally, almost everyone, says state parties, that means governments and their institutions, should take all appropriate measures to modify social and cultural patterns with a view to eliminating prejudice and customary and other practices which are based on sex stereotypes for men and women. So all our governments have said that they are going to try to get rid of sex role stereotypes. And they have also agreed with the United Nations that gender refers to roles, behaviours, activities given by a society to different people in different situations to men and women, and they're socially constructed, and we should work to get rid of sex role stereotyping. That's gender. Now, unfortunately, as we all know, lots of the institutions globally, including in Britain, are trying to substitute the word sex for gender identity. So they're actually trying to give our protections, which are based on sex, to just give them all away and now change them for people with a gender identity, instead of doing what we're signed up for, which is we want to get rid of sex role stereotypes. So anyway, our declaration exists, womensdeclaration.com. We're working internationally with loads of women all over the world. Many countries are having the same problem as us, and if you want to get involved, that'd be great.
Emily?
Who's next? Which Emily?
Emily? Who's next?
Emily! Something to say. Lovely.
Who's Emily? Emily Garcia.
She's not here. Emily?
Emily?
She's not here yet.
You don't know who we're
Can I introduce this young woman is a thought criminal. You may well have seen her photo, and that's why Standing for Women started selling a thought criminal top, because we basically completely ripped her design. So this is Emily. I'm going to give you up here. Yeah. I'm going to put this camera on you so everyone can hear you properly, if that's all right. Yeah.
Okay, my women's say is going to be a poem that I've written, and it's called Canary in the Coal Mine. This poem is something different, since I'm tired of dialogue following the same formula pre-designed. Borrowed propaganda self-righteously opined, mumbled out for behind the masked hive mind. I'm straining to discern in these murky depths of deception, but I think these thoughts might be mine. The adventurer in me senses a sea change, so I set sail in salty spring ocean spray, with only a tea-stained map and compass as guide. An undercover mission to capsize the creaking rowboats carrying pirates in disguise. To the sea breeze I release up, a triangular scrap of censored speech blown from speaker's corner, to float on choppy waters against the pier sides. At the turn of tides, flowing into openings in the open minds it finds. How is this landing? Change of scene, scramble onto shifting quicksands. What else am I here like? Like the canary in the coal mine, cheaping a warning that a storm is dawning. Day will break into a broken gale-swept morning. Tornado, destroying. Ripped awning, chairs sprawling. I'm furiously mining for diamonds, on my knees crawling, to shard light on the rapidly oxidizing lies, now spluttering and stalling. An end times midwife, I prep my doomsday scroll, nail my flag to the mast pole. Whatever the toll, I've decided to take it. Exorcise the wired ramblings from my mind, cast out doubts, fears, and the demons that paralyze. Touch the screen, start to type, to bring to life the bird-like word flock's flight. Begin with phrases, fit them into rhythms and rhymes. The meanings and themes naturally crystallize, and the story they unfold, they themselves will decide. Democratically inspired insight from letters allied, quivering with patient anticipation, alive inside the lines. The lyrics, when deciphered, synthesize and spiritualize its faithful scribe. I don't know why I expected the lesbian separatists to hold the line. It's not a fine line the phallocrats have crossed, but clearly defined. A gaping chasm, deep trench yawning. X marks the spot for the spaced out Q. Stand, endure boredom, till you socially distancedly fall from exhaustion. Every woman is an island for the dishes and childcare to wash up on. Whatever the suited men with crocodile smiles are desiring will be broadcast 5 p.m. GM time, right before husband arrives home. It's important at all times the Stepford wives be bestowed with the worldly, manly maxims on viruses that the men know. Time's passage paralysed, 3 weeks solidify into a heavy new normal. They've always wanted to flatten our curves. Enter coronavirus, many plans and purposes served. Listen, this Dharma is no half-hearted endeavour. Remember when Orwell spelled out the future. Imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever. For resistance to flourish, execution must be clever. The stakes couldn't be higher nor sharper. The book-burning fire flames leap, lick and blaze, heat darting. Kami face sick puppets of state lie and fake harder. The accusing finger points towards India. New variants of coercive control. The tight vice clamps tighter. On average, it takes women 7 attempts to leave her abuser. But where to go when the state is her freedom remover? According to millennia of patriarchal myth, women want to make that list. Looked in, tracked, traced, and experimentally pricked. Sisters, should you dare to resist and say women's rights matter, I'm afraid that makes you a TERF, a witch, or a COVID denier. A TERF, a witch, or a COVID denier.
Oh, sorry. Otherwise we'll have all your private chats. Right, who's next? Yes, right. This is Maria McLaughlin, you might have heard of her. Can I pin it on you?
Yeah.
I'm just going to put it here. Okay, thank you.
Hi everyone. I'm very sorry, but I'm going to say a few words about the horrible subject of female genital mutilation. The greatest atrocity being inflicted on girls and young women, and indeed older women, because even though it's usually carried out on children, those who are lucky enough to physically survive it, the pain and the trauma can never go away. It lasts a lifetime. FGM is usually or very often performed by somebody with no medical training, using unsterilised equipment and without anaesthetic on little girls being held down by members of their own family. 2 decades into the 21st century, it's still happening in many countries around the world, including the UK. It's been illegal here for some 25 years, but it's still happening. Sometimes right here on British soil, sometimes on girls who are British citizens being taken abroad for a holiday. Please take time to familiarise yourself with what FGM means in reality, because if you've only got a vague idea, if you'd rather not think about it, you will be very shocked. Learn what the law says and what steps you can take if you know of a girl who you suspect might become a victim of this horrendous practice. There's loads and loads of information online. Check out the fgmcentre.org.uk. The NSPCC has good information, so does the NHS and gov.uk. And if you're on Facebook or Twitter, please follow the woman whose t-shirt I'm wearing today. A woman who has devoted her life to campaigning against FGM. Her name is Hibo Wader. She was 6 years old when she was forcibly restrained and her genitals were hacked to pieces and she was stitched up without anaesthetic. If you don't know what the result of type 3 FGM looks like, there are images on the internet which once you've seen them, you can never unsee. We've got to stop this brutality that is happening to girls, to female children who can't identify out of it. Now finally, I wouldn't want to disappoint my many trans activist fans who totally get off on watching me expose their appalling behaviour they seem to be proud of for some reason. Last year, Hebo Adair tweeted a comment saying, "I'm so sick of these people constantly trying to hijack my campaign. Bugger off, please." She's so polite. No prizes for guessing who she was talking to. In fact, over the past few months, Hebo has repeatedly asked trans activists to just stop hassling her. She's been accused of erasing men who have breasts and ovaries and wombs and clitorises. She's been accused, she's been accused of turning her anguish and pain against other women, meaning the ones who were born with penises and are more accurately known as men. She's been accused of being irresponsible and hurting young trans women, and of course of being a TERF and retweeting gender critical accounts, which is such a heinous crime. Dear trans activists, to criticise and harangue a woman campaigning to end the most barbaric form of child abuse because she's not interested in your fantasy is one of the most despicable things I've seen you do. You can go no lower. And to those of you doing it, I'd just like to say, leave her alone and just fuck off. Please.
Well done.
Ooh.
Nice, thank you.
I'll try and keep it short and sweet. Okay.
Somebody said it's breaking up, so
Okay. I don't know where to stand. Okay.
second step.
Second step. Hi everyone. I don't think it would be right for me to come here today and not speak about my favourite topic, which is the YP, which is the Joe Jakarta Principles. So, exactly, they are rubbish. So, if you don't know anything about them, I won't go into the whole history because there has been quite a bit written about them at the moment, which is really good. But obviously, one of the main issues we have with them is that they completely erase the legal category of sex and include gender identity. Most of you know what that means, but I will just point you out to Principle 31, which says and calls on all states to abolish the recording of sex and gender on birth certificates and all official documents. So, as you can see, they're absolutely batshit. Now, the issue that we have is that lots of institutions and governments, and also including the EU, seem to be citing them all the time. So it was only last year that the EU Parliament cited the YP as a reputable source for promoting LGBTI, it goes on. The Scottish Government has clearly said more than once that they think that the YP is international best practice. So I don't want to talk about the things that are already out there because a lot of things are. I'm just in the middle of something. So I basically don't want to speak about that. What I want to speak about is the recent judgment from the EHRC. And so basically what they've said is that they're not going to follow Stonewall anymore, which is absolutely brilliant. Well done everyone. So that's obviously to the hard work of everyone campaigning, raising the alarm about what Stonewall is. However, I'd like you to point you out that in 2016, the EHRC wrote a report, and in their report, they misrepresented the Equality Act. Instead of sex, they put gender, and that report was a very important report about the human rights situation in the UK, and that was sent to the UN Office of the High Commissioner of Human Rights. Nothing could be more serious. So what I want to say is there's a lot of uncapturing that still has to be done. The EHRC is our National Human Rights Institute. They have a special consultative power with the UN. They have a really great, enormous responsibility. But I've been researching and I found out more horrendous stuff, sadly. So Michael O'Flaherty, who's the lead rapporteur of the YP, he's written a report for the EU to basically to say to the NHRIs all across the EU that they should be following the YP and Agenda 2030. All of these things that you hear, they're linked, by the way. Maybe I'll come back one day and say something else about how this is linked to a bigger agenda. But for now, I just wanted to say that when national human rights institutes go along with the YP, we're in grave danger, and we need to help our Scottish sisters. Thank you very much. Who's next?
I've got to get my speech out.
I'll go during it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Give me a brief.
Slightly.
We're a bit down. I kind of hear it.
Down here?
Yeah, because otherwise
It should only be 30 people. There's more than 30 people here. Spread out. Thank you. Your people that's going to be talking might have to shout a bit louder. I'm sorry about that. That's the rules and regulations.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I just have something very brief to say today. It's about tech, and it's about lockdown. So my comment is just that right before lockdown last year, I was aware that women were having massive meetings. Our meetings were getting bigger and bigger. Was anyone at the meeting with 1,500 women at UCL? Our conferences and our meetings were getting bigger and bigger. We were able to do something called raise the frequency and raise the harmony and raise the harmonic vibration for any hippies out there. Then lockdown happened, and I was aware of who controlled the tech, who controlled the technology, and who controlled the algorithms, because it's our enemies. It's the male tech bros who are our enemies in Silicon Valley, who are controlling the algorithms, controlling the search engines, and controlling the thought, and ultimately, if they keep us in ultimate lockdown, which of course we will go back into lockdown next autumn, because that's the plan, they are going to have a lot more power. So I suppose my two messages are: try to meet in person like we're doing when possible, so that we can meet and bond and raise the frequencies whenever possible, and try to keep finding ways to take back the tech, because right now we're losing because they own the tech. That's my whole statement.
Okay, so as I said at the beginning, I'm not legally responsible for a single person, but the police have asked me, and it's your discretion, but the police have said if we divide into two sections, I don't know, like a binary division, that they'll be a bit more happy. Otherwise, they're threatening to break up, because we know how very much on the side of women police are in 2021. I speak as somebody, I don't know if you know, but I was arrested for a totally risk-assessed, organised talk in Leeds. But, you know, we know that police are Stonewall champions often, and so I don't really have, unfortunately, a lot of faith for some of their practices, shall we say. Right, who else would like to speak? Okay, yes. And what's your name? Diane. Okay, this is Diane, everyone. Okay. Can I give you a microphone down. Yeah. All right.
You have to grab.
Okay, I've tried. Well, and otherwise it breaks up. Yeah. Okay, thank you. I'll just hang. Okay.
I have scars on my body from over 23 years ago, when I used to cut myself as a teenager. I don't think about them a lot, but occasionally I realize that people notice. Don't know if you can see them. I don't feel the pain I was in at that time, but I remember that I felt lost, alone, scared, and hopeless. I don't think any place or time is an easy one to grow up in as a teenage girl. When we feel in our bones that we are being served up as meat for general consumption, it causes a lot of different reactions in girls. When I read the stories of girls who are being trafficked into the gender industry, my blood runs cold with the fact that this could have been me. I could have been a casualty of such a force. I didn't feel at home in my body. I had anorexia, bulimia, I self-harmed, and later expressed myself through drugs. I also had a relationship with a girl and I was bullied for it. I didn't know what my place would be in the world. I just knew I didn't fit in. In my teenage years, professional psychiatric services met my distress by offering CBT. I can't say it's made me much better, but it made it clear to me taking my psychological pain out on my body and soul would not be tolerated by those around me. As time has passed, the attitude of adults to the distress presented by children has changed, at the same time as mental health has become fashionable and status-giving. Thanks to the magic of the trans lobby, girls who try to escape what they may go through as a woman by deciding they're indeed a boy are indulged. Those girls' desire to destroy their own bodies is celebrated. We live in a world where the false self, the imagined self, is treated as more true than our fully rounded physical and emotional beings. When I was a teenager and then a young woman, my distress and self-harming was treated by helping me to challenge my negative thinking and to regulate my emotions. Looking at my scars, it astonishes me that my tortured self can still communicate its desperation through the years. I know for certain that the adults around me at that time would never have harmed me physically or watched idly as I hurt myself. But nowadays, this is what they do to girls like me. Imagine how they feel when they realize what a doctor has done to their body. In the 70s, my mom was told she couldn't be a doctor because she was a girl. Now we can't even name ourselves as women. As it has been for a long time, the emotions of society are taken out on the female body, either by destroying it with drugs or surgery, or by using it as a sexual object and as a costume to be worn by men. We are among the luckiest women in history to have the freedoms and lifestyles we do. Let's not be complacent. We owe it to the women around the world and in the past to stand up for what they had to fight. With you! Thank you very much. I need your word! Okay, I was wondering where that was. Gosh, thank you very much. Oh dear, I guess that's why we're here, right? That's why we're here. That's why it's important. Apparently there's more of a police presence today than there has been for about 6 weeks. But it might be to do with...
The corporation should be ashamed of itself.
It's very interesting. Right, so I am going to just... Can we just make a dividing line? Apparently that's all we have to do. Dangerous women with their dangerous opinions and their dangerous words. Right, who else would like to say something? Come on, Katie. Right, we're just going to wait. Okay. So look, there's some things that you can do in your own lives to stop this. Number one, you can stop being afraid of voicing your opinion to your friends, your family, and your work colleagues. You don't have to go all out and say terrible things, but you can simply just speak the truth. You can simply refuse to join in. That's one of the things you can do. If you are a parent, you are the most powerful person in your child's education. You have to exercise your right to go and talk to their teachers. You have to exercise your right to find out what is it that your child is being taught in school. Are they being taught a reality that you don't accept? There's absolute nonsense that is created in the queer theory addled brain of some moron high up in education. Is your police service more likely to consider a 6'5" man in a dress a victim of crime because someone looked at him funny than you if someone touches you up on the tube? Yes. What are you going to do about it? Did you go to your PCC hustings? Did you go to your council hustings? Do you get involved? Do you write letters? Are you a royal pain in the arse to anybody who has power to take any of your rights away? And if you're not, then you should be. Now is the time. I genuinely think we have moments in our lives where we can make a difference, or we can just watch the world change and put ourselves in a position where we can do nothing about it. I personally think this time is now. Yes! Yes! And here is another woman to help us along. Here's Katie.
Can you put it in here? Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Hello, I am DJ Lipper. You probably don't know me from Twitter anymore because I got banned. So I consider myself proud of that banning. This is why I'm here now, because you can't really ban me from walking in the street, standing here. I'm wearing a t-shirt today that says lesbians and gays support the miners' strike. I don't know if any of you have seen the film Pride. It's about a part of gay history where lesbians and gays went out and supported working class miners in Wales or wherever to say, you know, we stand with you. And I think it goes a lot to say the state of gay rights in 2021 when you have an organisation like Stonewall, supposedly, I know man, twats, sorry. But so like they've been apparently representing people like myself, bisexuals, gays and lesbians, at the same time as trying to erase us in law and say that same-sex attraction doesn't exist. It's same-gender attraction, and we all know that's bullshit, don't we? Yeah. So anyway, this week there's been like some major moves to take down Stonewall because it don't represent us. Essex University released a report because they previously banned speakers like Rosa Friedman from speaking, and they've basically come out and said, we said this because Stonewall told us it was hate speech. Stonewall told us we could. Also, the European Human Rights Commission has made a public statement to say we will not be renewing our Stonewall Equality Championship. Meanwhile, yesterday, another Stonewall founder came out to say they do not represent us. We are not represented. It's all about the tea. They don't talk about the gays, lesbians and bisexuals anymore. And so, being the reputable organisation that they are, Stonewall, they added the Times, the Sunday Times and the Mail Online. This is what Stonewall, a company that has £8 million income a year, they thought this was an appropriate tweet to send. Hey, at Times, at Sunday Times, at Mail Online, you okay, hon? Just checking because you are spending a lot of time talking about us. It's a bit creepy. Come on, how old are Stonewall? This is why you don't let children on the internet. So I just want to say to all of you, we've had a rainy couple of years. It's still raining. The sun's coming out a little bit now. But the sun is coming out. The sun is coming out. Truth will out. And it's all of us here today on the internet watching,
tweeting away, unless you got blocked like most gays and lesbians I know, I've been blocked by Stonewall. But keep it up. This, the rattle, that is terrified. The children have taken over the asylum. So yeah, just keep it up, make more noise, and yeah, keep it going.
What are we? Okay. Anybody else? Can I just advertise my amazing sparkly t-shirt? I don't know if you subscribe to Mr. Menno, but you probably should. Come on. Yes. Can we go?
No.
You can just.
Hello, everyone. Okay, I'm not the most manly man in the world, but I'll try and use all the testosterone that I have to raise my voice and to say, obviously, I'm here because I want to support women and girls in defending their sex-based rights. It seems to be a bit of a mystery to some that we were all born of a woman. It is absolutely crazy. The phrase women and children first used to be something to bring women and girls to safety. Now it is the opposite, because in gender woo land, everything is turned upside down. So when they said women and children first, that meant they were coming for them. Okay, they've been doing it for a few years. Now it's the gay men they're after. So gay men are being banned from places like Grindr, the app where you go for a little bit of how's your father. But now, on Grindr, as a gay man, if you get approached by a woman who says, I am post-op, they took the skin off my arm and stuck it to my groin, I'm a man. And if you say, I can tell that you're female, I'm into males, you get reported and you get banned. So gay men are losing their single-sex spaces, particularly the ones where they want to be a bit intimate. We are being told constantly that men can have vaginas and that this is normal. There is a woman with a vagina who's now a finalist in the Mr. Gay England competition, who doesn't just call herself a gay man, but a male homosexual. Obviously, I'm a bad, nasty gay. Blocked by Stonewall. Blocked by Benjamin Buttigieg. Blocked by David Paisley, and a whole... I've nearly got the bingo complete. And Michael Cashman, who is a lord, founder of Stonewall, and keeps beating the trans drum, liked me on Tinder the other day. He doesn't say that much on his profile, but it's pretty clear sexually what he wants, and there's only one place where he can get that, and it's not going to be a woman. A lot of gay friends have said to me that I need to shut up. Women may have heard this before. They tell me, where has the lovely Menno gone? Do you see parallels with what they tell women? You have to be nice, you have to be lovely. Who asked you for your opinion? Who are you to say that this is not okay? I'm a gay man! I know what a man is! I know what a dick is! Anyways, there was a song I did as a tribute to Magdalene Burns called Adult Human Female. 10 women from around the world, from the UK, from Australia and the States were part of that. I felt very privileged to weave their voices together and build this chorus. It was even sung at the Washington Monument when women were picketing there. And it was incredible. I was in South London in my living room watching women at the Washington Monument singing that song. So I was just wondering, can we all do it here? The words are easy. Woman, adult, human, female. We do that 3 times and then I am a woman. Obviously, I'm not going to sing that last line because that is yours. So I'll do it once and then all join in and make it a strong and big as we can, because here's a fantastic group of people. I want to say thank you to Joe. Is Joe still here? From the Women's Human Rights Campaign? Because I've been watching her videos. Also the Object videos, which I find very useful. As a man, I'm learning about surrogacy. I'm learning about the rich gay men going for the poor women to buy their babies. These are new things that I'm learning about. I'm learning about porn. I've never heard of it before. Anyway. Okay, the song is easy. Woman, adult human female, woman, adult human female, woman, adult human female. And again, woman, adult human female, woman, adult human female, woman. Come on, Posey, adult human female. Keep fighting! And keep smiling. Have a good day.
Alright, thank you. Thanks very much. Right, okay, anybody else? What's the time? It's only 1:15. Yes. This lady, come on. What's your name?
Can I not say?
Yes, of course. Alright. So, can I pin it on?
I'm good. Okay. So, we've had a lot of blood and thunder prophets. I'm going to be the peace and love prophet.
Yay! Have you got the mic?
Right here. So
speak into it.
I'm good.
We can't hear you. We can't hear you with your mask on. Yay!
Okay. How many here identify with the suffragettes?
Yes! What does that mean?
Sorry? There you go. How many here identify with the suffragists?
Oh yeah!
You know, very few people have heard of the suffragists. They've heard of the suffragettes. They know there were 10 times as many suffragists as suffragettes. It was the suffragettes that got noticed. They were bold. They were brash. They blew things up. We're the suffragettes. We've got suffragists over there. We don't always get along. We have our differences between us. People here have had differences. You know what? It's all good. We need both groups. We need people to make noise, and we need people to write their MPs and to sign petitions. We need both. We need everybody. We need all women. It doesn't matter what part of the political divide you're on. It doesn't matter which way you want to turn. If you want to be loud, if you want to write a letter, fine. It's all good. Stand together.
Who's next? Have we got the mic? Here we go. Who's next? Come on. Come on, who's speaking next? Julia. Come on. Go, Georgia, you do it first, then. Oh, you want to have a go? We have a taker.
We have a taker. Where does this go?
I don't know what's happened to it.
Yeah, where's the bobble?
Look, I don't know where the bobble's gone.
Where's the bobble? Can you hear that?
Where's the wind cover?
Wind cover? What?
How are you?
I'm all right. Terrified, but there we go.
Stand up here, girl.
Stand up here.
It should be alright, it's just a wind.
Right. I'm a biologist to my soul, and I'm going to talk a bit about sex, and particularly the poor little people that are stuck in the alphabet soup called intersex. We've really got to stop using that term. It is used by the trans rights people all the time. Oh, sex is a spectrum. What about the intersex?
It is an archaic term when we knew nothing about DNA, nothing about chromosomes, nothing about anything, and then there were people born who didn't fit the expected pattern. And don't forget, it's 0.03% of births, about 100 in the UK last year. And I always used to teach about how the reproductive system differentiated, because it was a really good way of bringing the clitoris in when you're teaching fourth years, year 10. So, don't forget sex determined at fertilization. When they say these XXYs and XYYs, and they're all chromosomal abnormalities, about 1 in 1,000 to 1 in 2,500. They are not different sexes. They are chromosomal aberrations caused by the chromosomes not separating, and maybe there's 2 X's in an egg and there should only be 1, and then a Y sperm comes along and you get an XXY. It happens, same as Down syndrome happens. So here we are with this. I brought this is my credentials with acid holes in it from my 50 years teaching and lecturing in biology. Right, so here we are in a 12-week fetus, gonads, Y-shaped tube like that to the outside. And there's also some other tubes. So these are called Mullerian ducts and the other tubes are called Wolffian ducts. If there is a Y chromosome with an SRY gene on it, the testosterone will start being produced and it tips the development in a male direction. The testosterone doesn't work. It doesn't do that. And therefore it is possible to have an XY person who is born totally looking female. Castor Semenya is one of these, and I get very tired. Leave Castor Semenya out of it. It is not our fight. She is not Laurel Hubbard. She's a woman with a DSD who has luckily been able to drag her family out of poverty. Go and write to the Olympic Committee if you want, but nothing to do with trans. Absolutely nothing. So, what happens in women? The Wolffian ducts deteriorate. These gonads become ovaries and there's a vagina. There's also a little thing called a genital tubercle. Genital tubercle, and that is just tucked there by the bottom of what will become the vagina. And it will become the clitoris. In a male, the Mullerian ducts degenerate, the Wolffian ducts start carrying the sperm. The genital tubercle develops into a penis, and away you go. And the vagina, what would have been the vulva, closes over. And if you, where's Mr. Menno? I know about men too. Look under a guy's bollocks, and there's a little wiggly line under the scrotum, and that is where the vagina would have been. The skin over the bollocks becomes the external labia. And of course, what was the genital tubercle is now a penis. If that doesn't work quite right, then you have a disorder of sexual development, which are all specific to males and females. PAIS, which is what Castor's got, is specific to XY people. MLKH is specific to XX people. So just please leave intersex people out. Also, the whole language, every time somebody says gender, make them say sex. Get over that foolishness. I do it all the time. Oh, you know, the gender this. I say, no, sex. Sex? You really must say sex. Gender is something else. So always use sex, not gender. Do not ever say MTF. No. Say, what do we say, people? Trans-identified male. You can just say men, but a lot of people need a bit of education. Get them to the point. And a woman is an adult human being. And I know you can all hear me. Yeah. Fucking teacher, I can shout.
Okay. You gonna come, Georgia? She's here. It's not very thick.
Where is it?
Do you want an umbrella on you?
No, it's all right. Well, I've got my books. I've got to read from a book because otherwise I'll start stammering. I just wanted to talk. Why? I just wanted to talk about the going on from my last talk on Liz Truss's speech about having focusing on class instead of identity politics, and really it's in relation to the Labour Party, which a lot of women seem to cling on to, even lesbian Labour. And I want to say there's a little relationship between the politics of transgenderism and the politics of class. If identity is fluid, unstable, elusive and self-parodying, then it becomes the antithesis of socially constructive, objectively defined grand narratives of class. Like the homosexuals in the 80s, trans ID is bourgeois, consumerist and feminized. And it is an anathema to the presumed heterosexual masculinity of the working class. Yet it's the unions and the Labour Party who basically exist to serve the working classes, which are at the forefront of embedding identity politics into the working class movements. The key to the whole concept of transgenderism is in its history. Like sex and homosexuality, and these two protected characteristics, the leverage point becomes between class and gender. Transgenderism can be widely mapped to secrecy and disclosure, and in the private and public spaces. There's not much difference here. The undertaking of transgenderism is the key to all of society, and is at the heart of its iteration and in the movement. Transgenderism provides society, capitalist society, unclear lines between permissible and impermissible rendering of the sex class. Transgenderism is a carnival of performative work, recognizing the body and bodily life as an all people's culture. Transgenderism also places trans activists alongside other oppressed groups in order to liberate men in many opportunistic interventions, e.g. in women's spaces, toilets, private lives, and ironically, the left has restored identity politics and now embraced it. Yet identity politics has not brought salvation to the left, as the last will and testament of Corbyn and Starmer. Identity has not basically saved the left. It has moved towards a new hierarchy of priorities based on the particular rather than the collective. The left has moved from the politics of everybody to a politics of for some people more than others, usually men. They have lost their skin in the game, and it's been replaced by basically a pink and blue shirt, put on then taken off at will. None of the choices have any authenticity. Identity politics basically are in the hands of a privileged male class, have become alien and divisive. Identity politics developed in a particular context, heavily informed by the defeat of the left. Blairism is the new era of brought in the new era of the GRA and the Equalay, which basically is moving towards a flat earth politics where everybody is the same but nobody's equal. Right. The so-called left is continuing to play a significant role in the development of identity politics.
We saw this with Raina and Nandi. Trans women are women. Yeah, and with the new spate of unison MPs, they're all from the bourgeois classes actually, who are into sex workers' work. Men and women. And most of these MPs now have been deliberately recruited because of their identity politics into the shadow cabinet. This is the failure of the Labour Party and the left. And the rise of youth as a discernible identity group during the Corbyn era, we saw that with Momentum, is an example of a failed attempt to incorporate a failed bourgeois decadence, right? Mainly incorporate basically inclusion of AGPs, auto-uniphiles, and basically Pi 2. And the feminized threat to the working classes is acceptable now. No problem there. We see this with the cancel culture, the sacking of many women, and focusing on the party focusing on their energies on basically focusing their energies on infiltrating the party. We saw this with the Antifa, anti-fascist movements, the various left-wing caucuses have infiltrated the left. So what we see is transgressive political identities being adopted outside of the left wing. The new dialectic now being focused on performance and protest, and a rejection of any organisational structure, and a focus on anti-psychiatry, which we've seen with Stonewall. The anti-psychiatry movement, a relic really from the gay liberation front, but we see they're now attempting to form other new organisations, the LGBT Alliance being one. And but all these just provide new models for new trans activism. And all of this is descended into the same animosity and discord. So Stonewall's diversity champions are giving, basically being captured many public institutions, denying services to women, including National Health Service, the police force, prisons, an inappropriate application of made-up laws targeting women in particular. So, I know, okay, but that was it. That was the end. That was the end. So I couldn't read it as the rain got to it.
Oh, well done, Georgia.
Sorry. You guys have to think that was going to be the last one, yeah? Do you want to talk?
I'll just say one thing.
Yeah, just
support the Sticker Women of Scotland!
Okay, thank you all for remaining. I know it's a real, it's your time. Thank you all for remaining in the rain. I promise it's worth it. Here is the wonderful Julia Long. Do you want a pink one?
Sorry, no offence. No offence. Is it supposed to point on this way, Posy? Does it matter? Oh, sorry.
Do you want me to pin? Let me pin it on you again.
Look on the
Just
thing.
not
Not a bit covered, yeah. Sorry. Hello everyone! It's so lovely to see each other, isn't it? Now, I've just got a couple of things to say. The first one is, for any gardeners here, anyone with an allotment, if you haven't brought your sweet corn out yet, I'd give it another week because it's going to be rainy. I'd give it till not this week, but the week after. You're probably going to be better because it's a bit rainy next week. Wait till the sun comes out. Hey Mary, do you agree? Peat-free compost. Peat-free compost is still on offer at that supermarket, $1.99. So no, I have got a couple of things to say. I'm sorry I missed a lot of this, so I'll look forward to watching the live stream. But I just wanted to say, probably some of you are aware, there's a new book that's come out recently that I highly recommend. I encourage you all to read, because not only is it groundbreaking, but it builds on all the work that has gone before with absolute feminist integrity. And that book is called Spinning and Weaving. It's a collection edited by an American feminist called Elizabeth Miller. It's brilliant. I've had a read of mine already. It's fantastic. There's about 40 odd different essays in there, radical feminist perspectives on all kinds of different things. Different things will speak to different women among us, but to me there are a couple of standout pieces in it, and I would just like to mention the very opening essay by Renee Gerlich, which I think is absolutely sublime. So I really, really endorse you to read that book, and also any other publications that may have come out there. We've probably been a bit busy to read, but I'm sure also very, very worthwhile read. In terms of a little bit more substantive content, I know it's a bit wet and rainy, but I just wanted to mention, probably most of us saw in the news this past week, the victory of 2,700 women who were caught in Paris as now ruled should be due compensation for having industrial grade silicone put into implants and put into their bodies in the hideous scandal that unfortunately has got very much forgotten, I think, until last week. That case came to light, I think it was about 2010, so it's over 10 years that those women have been battling to get, you can't even call it justice because it's in such an unjust situation, but to get some kind of recognition and some kind of, even though inadequate as it will be, some kind of compensation for the terrible wrong that has been done to them. Now, there are 2,700 women, I believe, who took the case, but worldwide we're looking at around between 300 and 400,000 women that was done to. That disgusting thing was done to. And just think of all the decisions in all the chain that led to that thing happening. The company, PIP, the head of that company, the other company, the German company that ruled that it was okay for those implants to be used, the so-called medical practitioners, the surgeons who went about doing that, and all the endless imagery and demand that women see around us all the time that put such a terrible idea to have your breast cut open and to have some horrible object shoved into it that makes that completely normal. Now, I think, aside from the right to justice of those women, we all have a responsibility to create a world where that sort of thing does not happen. And I'm very concerned that, at the moment, because of their focus on righteous focus on what is being done to children, to young women particularly, and the horrific examples, the horrific phenomena of things like breast binding and removal of breasts in the name of, sort of transgender identity, all of that. Let's not forget the pressure also on women to look not more masculine, but to look more so-called feminine, and the horrific wrongs that are done to women in that name. So that is just a little reminder for us all, and power to those women. I am so, we live in a world where people are creating like heroes and villains, and often in quite a misguided way. But to me, those women who fought for it, I think they deserve all our support and absolute 100% respect. Well done to them. And well done to Crazy Barker for organising this. Well done. Bravo, 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 bravo.
So you can have that. I'm just going to round up. My umbrella? I will. Hi, there was if anyone took one of these off of the railings, can I have it back because it's Venice's. Actually, on that regard, when I was waiting for my taxi yesterday, I was stood outside of a KFC, and Christina Jane Harrison. I was at greasy KFC, and I was stood outside, and I was watching quite. Like the sun was out and women and men are beginning to come out on the streets, and there were girls basically dressed like they were going to a nightclub in shoes they couldn't walk in, tiny little clothes, really massive heels that literally couldn't walk in. They were all just walking like this. And then just as they're crossing the road, two other girls go into KFC, both clearly wearing binders. And I just thought the two extremes, I don't know what we're doing to young women. Well, I do. I don't know how we're achieving it, but I think for girls to stay in the middle, for girls to stay somewhere where they just consider themselves as human beings who are also female, I think support those girls whenever you see them. I often just want to go up to someone and go, well done. I sit here with my peroxide hair and makeup and I go, well done, I'm a hypocrite, but well done. Well done to you. But it's
rejecting those beauty norms. That's conviction, Mosley. Kind of model.
It's my world. Anyway, but yeah, so it's happening to all kids, but it's specifically happening to girls. Girls are the children that I'm far more concerned with, because I don't know, I'm a female. I happen to identify a lot better with girls and what they go through. And you watch, if you've got a daughter, you watch a really happy-go-lucky child, and then you see puberty, and then you have someone totally different at the end of it, as girls realise what being public property actually means. And I don't mean that every man is a raging pervert. It's just enough of them that it makes it difficult to go about your daily business without encountering one. So thank you so much for coming. We're going to make this monthly. Next time we're going to have double, and then double, and then there'll be 5 police vans. And we won't be wearing masks. And if you take me off, thank you on the live stream. We're going to switch you off so we can announce the pub.